Restorative justice versus retributive justice. Restorative justice refers to a principle which requires a process of resolving conflicts with the maximum involvement of the victim, the offender, and the community. It seeks to obtain reparation for the victim, reconciliation of the offender, the offended party, and the community, and reassurance to the offender that he or she can be reintegrated into society. It also enhances public safety by activating the offender, the victim, and the community in the prevention strategies. It embraces a wide range of human emotions, healing mediation, compassion, forgiveness, mercy, and reconciliation. Take note that the purpose of restorative justice is to settle the issue between the offender and the offended party with their active participation. The members of the community must also give their active participation for the offended and the offender to be as much as possible satisfied with the penalty imposed. The current Philippine criminal justice system, after considering the duties and functions of its different pillars, reveals its defects, and they are the following. A. The victims of a crime may not pursue a criminal case against the perpetrator because of lack of support from the government, especially the person arrested for the commission of a crime or the accused persons have numerous rights compared to the victims of a crime. B. The suspects who are actually fall guys may be convicted because they have no money to spend, especially in hiring experienced and skilled lawyers to defend them. The criminal cases may be dismissed because of insufficiency of evidence or technicality, even if the accused confessed that he has or he was the one who committed the crime. Letter D. The accused may be convicted of a charge and a penalty is imposed by the court, but the victim or the society as a whole is not yet contented of the suffering that the accused may undergo. Letter E. The trial of a case may take a very period of time, notwithstanding the presence of the Speedy Trial Act. Even if the perpetrator is imprisoned or has undergone a community-based treatment, he may not be reformed or rehabilitated. And in fact, correction is known as the weakest pillar of the criminal justice system because of its failure to reform and rehabilitate offenders. Letter G, the persons who were imprisoned by reason of the crime they committed may not be effectively reintegrated in the community. And this is because they may always be called ex-convicts, and most employers do not hire persons with criminal records. The Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, of which the Philippines is a member country, through a draft resolution, recommended to the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations Organization, or the UNO, the adoption of the basic principles on the use of restorative justice programs in criminal matters. The said document is a formulation of the United Nations standard in the field of mediation and restorative justice. The Philippines, being a signatory member country, should ensure adoption of this resolution. Consequently, the goal of the government is to establish a more enlightened and humane correctional system that will promote the reformation of offenders and thereby reduce the incidence of recidivism. So this is in line with the applicable laws, rules, and policies mandating this agency to administer the parole and probation system in the country. As such, the Parole and Probation Administration, or the PPA is empowered to create innovative policies, programs, and activities to facilitate the reintegration of its clientele into the mainstream of society and to prevent the commission of crime. Therefore, the PPA adopts restorative justice as one of its rehabilitation program, which utilizes restorative processes and aims to achieve restorative outcomes. What are the effects of restorative justice as a rehabilitation program of PPA? The reintegration of the offenders to the social mainstream and encouraging them to assume active responsibility for the injuries inflicted to the victims. Second, proactive involvement of the community to support and assist in the rehabilitation of victims and offenders. Third, attention to the needs of the victims, survivors, and other persons affected by the crime as participating stakeholders in the criminal justice system, rather than mere objects or passive recipients of services of intervention that may be unwanted, inappropriate, or ineffective. Number four, healing the effects of the crime or wrongdoing suffered by the respective stakeholders. And prevention of further commission of crime and delinquency. The procedural safeguards to be observed in applying the restorative justice processes to resolve conflicts arising from a criminal offenses or criminal offense. The clients must admit the offense to be eligible for the conference, and if possible, they should be encouraged to take full responsibility. So take note, there is already an admission of the offense. A personal visit by the restorative justice planner may be necessary to solicit interest and willingness of the stakeholders to participate in the restorative processes. The stakeholders includes the victim, the perpetrator, and the community. The victim's preference for the time, date, and place of the meeting should be given greatest weight. Restorative justice planners should also get in touch with community strengths to serve as facilitator like local officials, members of the Lupon Tagapamayapa, or any responsible and respected personalities in the locality. A pre-conference meeting with the selected facilitators prior to the actual conduct of Peace Encounter Conference should be set to carefully plan for the details from the seating arrangement and refreshments to the box of tissue papers, which incidentally would let participants know that display of emotion is okay. So take note, there must be a pre-conference meeting to with the selected facilitators, okay, before the actual conduct of the Peace Encounter Conference. So the emotions or the feelings of the family of the victim, let's say for example, should be considered in this particular stage. A pre-conference meeting could likewise be arranged separately with individual stakeholders to explain the process and other vital details of the conference. So it can be arranged to the different groups, like for example, the group of the community members, the group of the victim, and the group of the perpetrator. The restorative justice planner should ensure that everyone knows how to get to the location site of the conference. So the conference or the place where the conference will be conducted must be accessible and known to them. Facilitators should ensure that the conference shall be conducted without interruption in the comfortable location and shall secure the safety of all stakeholders. Stakeholders shall also be consulted relative to the composition of the panel of facilitators. Any party may move to oppose the inclusion of persons by reason of relationship, bias, interest, or other similar grounds that may adversely affect the process. Indigenous system of setting differences or disputes shall accordingly be recognized and utilized to conform with the customs and traditions of that particular cultural community. So the The restorative justice planner must be aware of the customs and traditions once that indigenous groups are involved in this particular process. As a result of the restorative justice process, the following outcomes or interventions may be agreed upon by parties in a restorative justice discussion, such as but not limited to the following. A. We have restitution. It is a process upon which the offender accepts accountability for the financial or non-financial losses he or she may have caused to the victim. The restitution is a core victim's right, which is very crucial in assisting the redirection of the victim's life. Part of the conditions of probation as imposed by the court is the payment of the civil liability to indemnify the victim of the offender and to inculcate to the offender a sense of responsibility and obligation towards the community. Consequently, probation and parole officer should see to it that the offender complies with this particular condition. Next, we have community work service. Community work service, whether imposed as a condition of offender's conditional liberty or integral part of his treatment plan, it should be purposely motivated to make the offender realize that he or she incurred an obligation to make things right. In its application, the offender can be subjected to perform work service measures, including but not limited to any of the following. One, we have mentoring and intergenerational service. Offenders will develop their nurturing needs through caring for other people, like, for example, with senior citizens, with orphanage, or with street children. Second, economic development. To link directly with the business project, for example, the cleaning downtown area, like tree planting, maintenance of business zones, housing restorations, garbage and waste management, cleaning of steros, recycling, construction, repair of streets, and the like. Number three, the citizenship and civic participation experiential activities which involve solving community problems. Examples, we have puppet shows that showcase values, street dramas, and peer counseling. Fourth, helping the disadvantaged. This will enhance offenders' self-esteem, like for example, assist handicap, assist in uh, soup kitchen, tutor peers, visit the aides in jail and the hospitals. Number five, crime prevention project. Example, the barangay ronda or giving testimony to the youth. The probation and parole officer should ensure the adoption of this community work or work services to facilitate the reintegration of the offender in the community. Letter C, counseling. Whether individual, group, or family, it will enhance clients' interpersonal relationship and it will help him or her to become more aware of his or her shortcomings, weaknesses. This will also help him or her overcome painful experiences that drove him or her to commit a crime or offense. Letter D, attendance to trainings, seminars, and lectures. Letter E, participation in education, vocation, or life skills program, just like those given by TESDA. Group therapy session. It is an intervention which provides recovering drug dependents or those with serious behavioral problems an opportunity to discuss their problems. Letter G, spiritual development session or faith-based session. Submission to psychological or psychiatric assessment, submission to drug tests or drug dependency examination, attendance to skills training, livelihood assistance program, marital enhancement program, written or oral apology, submission to family therapy session. So this session aims to develop healthy personal relationship with the family and to establish open positive communication between family members and significant others. Family members should be oriented in their individual responsibilities and rules. Letter N, confinement in drug treatment rehabilitation center, including aftercare. Distinctions between retributive justice and restorative justice. The following are the distinctions between retributive justice and restorative justice. Retributive justice is an approach focused on determining the following: what law was broken, who broke it, and how shall offenders be punished. While restorative justice, on the other hand, is an approach focused on determining the following: what is the harm resulted from the crime, what needs to be done to repair the harm, and who is responsible for repairing the harm. Retributive justice considers a crime as an act against the state, while restorative justice considers a crime as an act against the victim and the community. In retributive justice, the control of crimes lies to the criminal justice system, while in restorative justice, the control of crimes lies to the community. In retributive justice, the community is represented by the state, while in restorative justice, the community is the facilitator in the restorative process. Retributive justice focuses on the past by determining the person to be blamed for the crime committed, while restorative justice focuses on the future to determine the matters to be considered so that the crime will not be repeated. Retributive justice focuses on the offender's past behavior, while restorative justice focuses on the consequences of offender's behavior. Retributive justice emphasizes the adversarial relationship, while the restorative justice emphasizes dialogue and negotiations. Retributive justice considers crime as an individual act with individual responsibility, while restorative justice considers crime as both individual and social responsibility. And retributive justice is based on the principle of lex talionis, while restorative justice is based on forgiveness and reconciliation. The fundamental principles of restorative justice are the following. Justice requires that all must work to restore those who have been injured, like the victims, the community, and even the offenders. Those most directly involved and affected by crime should have the opportunity to participate fully in the response with their wish. And lastly, the government is responsible for preserving a just public order, and the community establishes peace. Thank you so much for watching this video.